CL. It is Friday, the weekend show. And of course, I don't take your phone calls on this particular show. I want you to sort of marinate in what I am talking about today. And let's then talk about it together on Friday. Talk about these topics with your friends through the weekend. There's something that is going to be said here today that you need to pick out and share with your children. Share with your friends. Maybe you and the wife could talk about it, because there is, and unless you withdraw, go off the grid, unless you go off the grid, there are some things that you are going to need. There are some tools that I hope I can give to you that you are going to need in order to get along in America that is evolving right in front of our eyes. There's some tools that I'm going to have to share with you, that I'd like to share with you in order to talk to your kids and grandkids if you plan on living anytime past 2016. Because I have a feeling, regardless of who becomes president of the United States, Donald Trump, I'm hoping, or Hillary Clinton, God forbid, I believe you're going to need some tools with either one of them that we have not brought out of the shed ever. They've been put there and they've been used by people like myself who've had to use them over the last 8 years, nearly, of the Obama administration, because there have been these certain positions that we have had to defend. And there have been certain attacks that have been made against us because of our political views. And there are tools for survival and recovery that we all need if we are going to live in America forward from 2016. Now the question that Patrick Henry posed to a group of men who would later become patriots and whose ideals we have long upheld in this country. Ideals that themselves come under attack often. But there was a question that Patrick Henry asked that we must, in fact, continue to ask today. And the question was, is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains? That's the first part of his question. In fact, this is the closing part of a very famous speech that you ought to read by Patrick Henry that was given on March 23rd, 1775. Now, let's stop right there and analyze what his question is. Is life so dear? Is just waking up in the morning and, yes, perhaps going about a day that if we don't preserve the republic, is life so dear if you don't have liberty and freedom that you would trade that for the chains of a person who rules over you? In other words, you live on your knees before whoever it is that has the strength to govern your life. In your home, at your breakfast table, your car that you drive, your children's education, the sodas that you drink. Hey, the wage that you earn, or worst case scenario, business owner, the wage that you must pay. Is life so dear that you would trade that for slavery? Slaves would tell you it's not. Slaves would tell you that that is something that you either run away from or you free yourself from in whatever way necessary. And the rest of that question is, or is peace so sweet? In other words, just being able, or is peace so sweet? Is it so important to you to get along with the communist or the progressive liberals that you sell out who you are? Is peace so sweet that you go along to get along with socialist ideals that indeed give everybody a trophy? If you go along to get along, everybody gets a trophy, and we'll all hold hands walking down the path of life, singing Kumbaya together. Is peace so sweet that you'd even risk the chains to sing Kumbaya with the socialists? Is that what it is? Is it that sweet that you'd sell out who you are? I want to talk to you about the declaration that he made after he asked that question when I return. I'm CL. CL back with you on this weekend show. And I want all of you to know that if you missed the first half of the show, you can tune into our friend station, The Promise, and hear it tomorrow morning and again on Monday morning. I believe we come on The Promise at 8 a.m. and they're on The Promise. So you be sure to check it out. Now, we're going to talk about the declaration because we've talked about the question. We've mentioned the question. We've asked the question here. And the question that Patrick Henry had for those who would fight a revolutionary war against those who had them enslaved. Britain, the most powerful nation on the face of the earth at the time. He asked the question, is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains? We take for granted sometimes what it cost to be the free people that we are here in America. We think that just because we can get in our car and travel from wherever you are in the United States to another point in the country, that that is a privilege that all enjoy. It's not. You can go from here to Montana without presenting any kind of papers unless you break the speeding laws or traffic laws or whatever, break some kind of laws. But you can cross over the borders because it's continuous United States in 48 of those 50 states. Okay? And so we take that for granted, that everyone has that type of freedom, that you have the right to pursue your personal happiness, what makes you happy. You take it for granted that that is something that everyone has the right to. It's not. Now, the question was, should we purchase that precious life or that precious peace at the price of chains? He says, forbid it, Almighty God. And then he makes a declaration. He says, I don't know what course you may take or others may take, because you do have the choice to take whatever course you want to take in life. And that is a choice that is available to us right now in America. We have a choice right now in this nation to choose the sweetness of peace and going along and getting along and sell out to socialist and progressive liberal agendas, or we can, in fact, say with the same declaration that if you choose to take that course, I'm telling you what I'm going to do. As for me, I want the liberty, or I'm going to die trying to keep it. That's American. That, my friends, in the full spectrum, in the full context of what has made this nation great, is that type of thought. Live free or die. I know that in the comfort of what we have become, we have actually given up the freedom for the comfort. We would choose to give up the freedom for the comfort, and therein lies the slavery. Let me tell you something about slavery. In my movie Runaway Slave, you can get it on Amazon. Or you can go to runawayslave.com or go to runawayslavemovie.com. Go to the website and order the movie from there. In my movie, I'm talking to Mason Weaver, and we discuss this point, and we come to this conclusion, that the slave mentality leads you to not necessarily seeking freedom, but seeking comfort. That's where we are in America right now. We're seeking comfort. And that leads to slavery. Let me tell you why. Because once you stop seeking the freedom of getting your own house, getting your own food, and making your own way, then you will settle for whoever will give you a soft bed to lay on, food on your table, roof over your head, and education for your children. And you become beholding to the people who are giving it. That is what the slave was trapped in that plantation system. He didn't necessarily want freedom as long as he could have a softer floor to lay on or a roof over his head And nobody beating him. He really didn't care if he stayed there or not. You see, when you talk about the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons of the world, somebody mistakenly may think that they are the liberators. No, they are the overseers. I hope you heard me. You may mistakenly think that they are the liberators. No, they are the overseers. And they are there to tell the master, the progressive liberal white liberals. They're there to tell them about anyone who would want to lead those enslaved off that plantation. Back with Ishmael Hernandez. When I return, I'm CL.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
C.L. Bryant, your native son, back with you on the weekend show. And I want to bring in now, because there's a lot of ground that I want to cover with him, a friend of mine and a gentleman who has been on our show a couple of times before. Every time he has shared with us very intriguing point of view. His name is Ishmael Hernandez. And Ishmael, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Thank you, CL. It's great to be with you again.
Ishmael, before we get into the conversation between us, share with our audience your website and the organization that you represent.
Yes, I am the founder of the Freedom and Virtue Institute, and we are located in Fort Myers, Florida, but we work across the country, and our website is www.fvinstitute.org.
Fantastic. Freedom and Virtue Institute, folks, go there and find out what is emanating from the mind of this great man, Ishmael Hernandez. Now, Ishmael, there is a lot of crime, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of, in my opinion, codependency that exists in the inner city, and you do a lot of work with young people in the inner cities of our nation. Let me ask you this. Is there a certain frustration that you find among young people that maybe we are not aware of, and where does that frustration emanate from, in your opinion?
Absolutely. There's a lot of frustration that is given some causes. I think that they are mistaken. The frustration, to me, the great frustration is not having a dad at home. Young black men grow up to become men without a man teaching them how to be a man. The family is the heart of any society or of any community. And when the family is in disarray and destroyed, you're going to have a lot of young men angry and sad and frustrated walking the streets. We can blame the government, we can blame white people, we can blame oppression, racism, whatever you want to blame, but the reality is that the core of the problem is at the basic institution of the family.
So community begins at the kitchen table. The community begins in the home. And so what the family, the nucleus, the traditional nuclear family, what we used to call mom, dad, and kids, the nuclear family. Ishmael, that unfortunately in an ever-growing number and percentage, that nuclear family is something that is becoming alien, especially in the inner city. What can we do? What must we do to combat the type of angst and the type of frustration that the dissolving of that nuclear family has caused in America? And it's beginning to affect white families, Latino, all families, beginning to affect all families in this country. What do we do?
So there is a subculture of instability, promiscuity, and violence in Black America, and as you well say, in all of America. When the basic institution that builds civilization is broken, you are going to have a disaster. And I don't care how many billions of dollars you dump into communities, it's not going to work. So the heart of the problem has to go back to the church. We need to call pastors to be courageous and continue to insist on the importance of the family from the pulpit, from the programs they offer in the churches, from the counseling they give to children and the young people as they grow up. The church has to become again the home, the heart, the glue that brought the family together. So I make a plea to churches.
So it's going to take courage, you said, for this to occur, because as I travel, and I know you travel a lot, and I travel a lot, I talk to a lot of pastors, I talk to a lot of churches throughout the country. And one of the things that I run into is, yes, the zeal to do something is there, but a lot of times they need you, or they need some type of guidance in order to actually do it, because they don't have the knowledge of how to approach it. And I don't know where the knowledge slipped through the cracks, but it has. And so let me ask you this, and folks, I want to give you Ishmael's background as far as what makes him so unique and uniquely qualified to speak to the American situation. Ishmael, tell our folks about your upbringing and the father that you had, and what type of initial introduction to society that you were shown by your father? Please share that with us. Jay, I think we lost him. Ishmael? Okay.
You saw 3 minutes ago in the segment?
Okay, can we start?
What do you mean?
I mean, let's do this, because now I've talked myself. Can we stop wherever I
I think this is Ishmael calling back.
Okay.
So, Brian, hey, let me go get you back in. Apparently we lost you. Okay. You can just pick it up with the question that you were on.
Okay.
We're ready.
I want you, Ishmael, to give us the insight of what makes your message so unique here in America. I want you to share with us your father's story.
Yes.
And how you came to the type of knowledge and understanding of what this country had to offer that so many who've been here for hundreds of years miss. What makes you get it and so many other people don't? Share that with us.
I grew up in a communist household. My father was a founding member of the Puerto Rican Socialist Party, which was a Marxist-Leninist organization associated with the Cuban Revolution. So I grew up hating America, hating capitalism, blaming American and Yankee imperialism for the poverty around me, for everything that I saw in our country, or in Puerto Rico. And so I grew up learning the Marxist catechism directly from my father. However, my mom had some faith, would send us to mass with friends. So I developed a double consciousness in my heart. You know, on the one side God, on the other side Marxism.
Because God and Marxism don't coexist, do they?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are two distinct, comprehensive systems of thought. Unfortunately, many try to merge those two, and that's where we go astray many times. But I was on my way to become a Jesuit priest, to go to Nicaragua, to Sandinista Nicaragua, to study philosophy and become a revolutionary priest.
Hold that thought right there at revolutionary priest. We'll be back with Ishmael Hernandez when we return. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. CL, back with you, on with a gentleman who was on his way to being a revolutionary priest raised by a Marxist father and a mother who had faith in Puerto Rico. His father was a part of the Cuban Revolution that was inspired by Fidel Castro. If you were tuned in before we went to break, you'll find that Ishmael Hernandez has told us that Marxism and Christianity cannot coexist. And one of the things I want Ishmael to share with us is do you see Marxist tendencies beginning to grip the minds of younger people, maybe unbeknownst to them? They may not even know it. But do you see those Marxist tendencies beginning to creep into the mindset of our young people here in America as you do your studies, your travels, and your teachings across the country?
Absolutely. Marxism has as a foundational principle that collectives are more important than the individual. As a Marxist, I remember I saw myself as a faithful drop in a great wave of revolution that sucked the air of identity around.
Say that again. A faithful drop in the great wave. Say that again.
A faithful drop in the great wave of revolution.
Wow.
If you do your duty within that collective identity, then your life has meaning. Then you have dignity. So your dignity comes from the group, and that's what we are seeing today. You know, we have this fight between blacks and whites, between rich and the poor, between the supposedly haves and have-nots. You see, we are collapsing individual identity within collective identity, and that's what Marxism does. So you have no dignity if you surrender your identity as a person. So if I'm a black person and I'm not a Democrat or I'm not a leftist, then I'm not a black person. So my identity as a person is really stuck within that collective identity, and that is killing us. Because what this country taught me when I came here as a Marxist, I came to the University of Southern Mississippi, of all places, to Deep South, was that my life has meaning, that I am unique and unrepeatable, made in the image and likeness of God. Each one of us has meaning by our own sake. We have the rational capacity of knowing the truth and the volitional capacity of doing the good. And there lies our dignity as individuals.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then, Ishmael. When we see groups like Black Lives Matter, when we see groups like Hands Up, Don't Shoot, Occupy Wall Street, and groups like that, something that you said to me is very profound, and that is that we surrender our identity to become, and basically we become absorbed with the identity of whatever movement or group or even a revolution that is there. Is that what's going on when we see these masses of young people in the street, seemingly to me irrationally chanting something that is a given? Have they lost their have they surrendered their identity for that particular cause, in your opinion?
It's very easy to be followers. You know, there is a tendency in the human person to follow others. And when you are told that to be black, for example, it means that you have to believe a certain narrative that is spoon-fed to you, and then the whole community is telling you that you must do that. Well, we want to belong. We want to belong, especially when we are young and impressionable. So we buy the entire idea that we are victims, that America is our enemy, that we don't belong here, that we are oppressed, that people don't love us, and that the only way to change that is to rebel rouse, burn our own communities, yell, and being angry at the world.
So when with that father out of the home, with that person who should be the leader out of the home, when we're talking about the nuclear family being just destroyed, it's dissolving, and of course that father is out of the home. So there is no one to teach that young man. And in too many cases now, even though mom may be there, if she's not a part of the system, she's working, trying to put food on the table, then you have a whole group of people who are looking for somebody to follow. And the wrong type of leadership is coming along in these inner city situations. And obviously, there are a lot of middle class kids and upper class kids who are buying into this because they have absentee parents too. What would you say to that?
Absolutely. You see all these young, impressionable kids angry that daddy is not home. That's the core of the reality. And trying to create some kind of proxy for my dad, proxy for someone to lead my life. Children do not need parents. Children need a mom and a dad because only men can teach manhood and women womanhood. So when the dad is not there, you need a proxy. So the family has no longer become what it was for example, in Black America. It's now the gang or the posse or the rebel-rousing Black Lives Matter type group becomes that community that gives me meaning. So we look for externalist answers to our problems instead of internalist ones. And we see this in the community. It's always some conspiracy against me, some entity external to my possibilities, the one that can change my life. But if you think about that, we are still in the system of giving power to someone else over our lives. It's still a slavery system where you think that someone else has to change for my life to be better. When we change that into an internalist system of thought, then you see yourself as capable of changing your life by the choices you make.
That's amazing. I want to share this with you. I share this myself. And man, listen, I've said this to you before, but we really got to do it because I think America is in desperate need of this type of message. We've got to hit the road. We got to find a way to team up in various places. We may be able to start right here in Louisiana, but I go on the road a lot. I know that you're on the road a lot. We've got to intersect at some point. And when I come back, I want to ask you this question because young people ask me this all the time or say this to me all the time when I tell them about the success that I've had with life. They say that I'm lucky. Ishmael, that's the way they're looking at people who are successful. They got lucky. I want to talk about that when I return with Ishmael Hernandez. I'm CL. CL, I'm back with Ishmael Hernandez. Ishmael, give your website and give the organization that you represent to the audience again for us, please.
It's Frank, FVInstitute.org, and the name of the organization is the Freedom and Virtue Institute.
Freedom and Virtue Institute.
Yes.
Love it, man. Let me now back to what we were talking about when we left out. I know, and you know, that what we do is not easy.
Yes.
It's hard work to pull any type of coalition together of like minds and so forth. It's hard work. Over the last 7 years on this particular road I have been traveling, And even before then, I was, a pastor for over 30 years. It hasn't been hard. It hasn't been easy. But young people, when they see successful black folks, when they see successful white folks, somehow they don't connect that with hard work. Why is that? Where's the disconnect that I'm missing?
I believe that because we have been told that we are victims of external forces outside of our control, that really gives you an alibi for your own life, no? It gives you a reason to say, if I am not successful, it's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. After all, I'm just a poor victim of circumstances or systems or structures or powers that are out there. Now, when they see you and you are successful, they have to find a reason outside of your control, because if not, that places them in front of the mirror. Then they have to begin to study why they are not successful when the other is. So they have to diminish your success so it doesn't go back to them. And it does not force them to look at the mirror and examine their own lives. So it's a way to really cop out and a way to protect your own psyche in the face of defeat.
Amazing. Because I have asked young people, Ishmael, about their personal ability. What are you good at? I would ask them. And it amazes me that a lot of young people, they see themselves through the eyes of a sports star or a rapper or somebody big like that, but they don't see themselves. They've never asked themselves what they're good at. They want to be good at what these other people are good at. And then the ambition is not for themselves. The ambition is to be what that guy is, but not what they can actually be. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think that there is also the ideology of separatism. We have constructed a reality around ourselves that has to be in contrast with white society. So if white society is about education and hitting the books, then we have to have a counter to that. If white society is about hard work and making it through effort, then we have to find an identity that is counter to that. If in other words, we cannot embrace the mainstream in any way, because then that is being less authentic to what black means. I think that's such a destructive ideology. It's the most anti-black ideology we can think of. What we identify as blackness is anti-black values, because the values of our people are quintessentially American. If anyone owns that name of American, is African American.
Wow.
But we have surrendered it because we were brought here in chains and we stood on the values that America taught. And Martin Luther King told America, be truthful to what you say on paper. In other words, we embrace what you say on paper. We just want to see it actualized. And we have forgotten it. We have surrendered our American identity for some nonsense about some African identity that was never ours.
Yeah, it wasn't. If you were brought here, even in chains, and in fact, this has been home for 400 years. There is no African. Now you can say, well, it was stolen. No, it wasn't stolen from you, because there are others who left, and nothing was stolen. What happened is, by whatever providence that God saw fit, this is where you are, and this is where you have to exist in and make the very best of. Ishmael, I want to thank you, man. Listen, I've got to have you on more often. I'm going to call you
Yes.
probably in the early part of next week. I really want, depending on how this election turns out, and we'll talk the next time you're on, we'll talk about that. But depending on how this election turns out, man, hey, we may have to be on the road constantly, or you never know what. But listen, man, God bless you, God keep you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Theo. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Ishmael Hernandez. And I got to tell you, folks, his listen, his seminars and his speeches they're captivating because they speak from a place that so many young people really need to go and investigate. Because listen, I don't care if you're black, white, or whatever your stripe is. Your young people are being sold a bill of goods, a destructive ideology that will lead them away from the ideas and core values that have made this nation where we live, America, our homeland. This is our homeland. I don't care where your ancestral roots run to. If this has been the home of your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, this is your home. Defend it. Know about it. And love it. I'm CL, an American. I'll be right back. Yeah. Bernie Sanders was doing his very best to promote the sentence, the line that Ishmael Hernandez shared with us in the last hour. And that is to create faithful drops in a great wave of revolution. That's what your young people are being sold. And not only are they being pitched this idea of being a faithful drop in the great wave of revolution, they are buying it. Let me tell you why you can know they're buying this. Because we have, at this point, two viable candidates for President of the United States. Donald J. Trump and Hillary Rodham Clinton. Two viable candidates at this point. There are others who very well could make a move. Gary Johnson being perhaps the most likely to make the move. But there are definitely two viable candidates. Donald J. Trump and Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, the way you know that the method of Bernie Sanders is working, and that your children who are voting age and those who will be voting age soon, I'm talking about within the next 4 years, if you have a 14-year-old in your house, you need to pay attention to what the children are buying into and the trend that both of these presidential candidates are trending toward. Let me tell you what it is. Both of them are trending toward solidifying for themselves the votes and the enthusiasm that drove so many young people to Bernie Sanders. I can understand Hillary Clinton doing it, almost an obvious choice, but that's not where it stops. Donald J. Trump is also wanting those votes, even though Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Hillary Clinton is a disciple of Saul Alinsky. But the reason you know that there is a sale that is going on, and the reason you know that the young people are buying what Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are selling, is because even the conservative or so-called conservative candidate, even the Republican candidate, is doing whatever he can to get those people who are behind a socialist into his camp. There was a time you wouldn't want them there. That's what I'm getting at. But it's boiled down to now an idea where you just want the vote. The ideology of Bernie Sanders is destructive. The ideology of Hillary Clinton is destructive. In fact, she has sold out her party. The Democrat Party has sold out a lot of its platform so that the Bernie Sanders people can get on board. A caution to the Republican Party. If you, in fact, began to court that vote, and this year, this election cycle, you don't have to worry about it. But if Hillary Clinton happens to win the presidency of the United States, then this is what I predict will happen with the Republican Party. It will begin to drift further and further to the left and compromise more and more in order to win what put her in the White House. Because if the Bernie Sanders voters do get on board with Hillary, there's a good chance she can become president of the United States, especially in lieu of the fact that we as Republicans are disjointed. Too many who right now are fighting the nominee of our party. If we could hold fast to our core values and the principles of the Constitution of the United States, we could win. Donald Trump can become president of the United States. And I know that to a lot of Republicans and certainly to Democrats, that is an idea that they don't like. But the big picture, and this is the only part of the picture that we must consider, and that is if he does not become president of the United States, we have no chance of maintaining any type of grip on the highest court, the ruling court in the land, the Supreme Court. We have no shot at it.
2 minutes.
If Hillary is appointing 3 to 4 Supreme Court justices, with Scalia gone, Thomas, Alito, and Roberts left, knowing that Roberts will compromise, knowing that Clarence Thomas is in his 70s, along with Alito. Let me tell you, this can definitely be a paradigm shift in the direction the country goes if we don't have a president that at least some of us who still hold dear conservative values will be, if we don't have a president that we can at least make accountable to republicanism and the republic. But if there has been, and this is what folks we fear may have happened, may be happening, may have already happened. If our political system has been totally betrayed and sold out by Republicans and Democrats, then we have an entirely different story. We'll talk more about it when I return. CL, back with you, and we were talking about the selling out of the American political system and what that may actually mean. How will you know? Oh, you'll know. If Hillary Clinton becomes president of the United States, the whole system has been sold out because you had the collusion and the co-conspiracy to put her in office by those who jumped ship off the Republican ticket. Some voting for her and some who just jumped ship and sent the message to people who follow them not to vote at all. And not only, Trump will effectively be Romneyed. Folks just stay home. Romney could have won if folks hadn't just stayed home. Romney would be running for his second term in office right now if folks had not stayed home. And the second term of Barack Obama would never have occurred. We'd be singing a different tune even as far as Obamacare is concerned if folks hadn't stayed home. And you're going to know if the fix is in. You're going to know if the fix is in if you wake up on, or if you go to bed on November the 8th, because I think we're going to know about this before midnight. Now, if it's a close race, it may be the early morning of the 9th before we know who the president is. But if you see a landslide victory for Hillary Clinton, know one thing: the country has been sold. Totally out. Totally out. And it was done with the help of those who you put in office, even as Republicans. If there's a landslide victory, Not if Clinton wins. If it's a close election, it means at least we put up a fight. If Trump wins, we know that there's still a spark of liberty. There's still liberty and the hope of America left in this country. If Trump wins, and people, believe me, I have gotten all kinds of beatings about the head and neck for supporting Trump from both black, white, Latino people, Republicans and Democrats. I've gotten it from conservatives and liberals. They just don't understand. CL, how can you possibly do it? From even the people whose camp I was in, from the Cruz people, I have gotten kicked around by everybody for saying even that I support Donald J. Trump. But I do. And I've told you why. 3 reasons. The First and Second Amendment, 1 and 2, and the Supreme Court. Now, I do want to thank Chevyland, Signature Cleaning Service, Brecht's Insurance, and Grubburger for sponsoring this portion of the show. Now, surrendering identity and following something that does not seem wise to follow is what we see happening in the streets of America with folks who are a part of Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot. What George Soros has figured out, and this is what I was saying a little bit earlier about Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and people of that ilk, who have a certain folks that they oversee, even though you don't see them as visible these days as you once did, but they do oversee them. In fact, there might actually be a crop of people popping up that have, in fact, that are in fact in the process of replacing Al and Jesse, who may not be more radical, but they're just as dedicated as Al and Jesse were, and just as much overseers as Al and Jesse were for the plantation owner. In this case, George Soros is the owner of this Black Lives Matter plantation. George Soros is the owner of that. Yes, he is. He pays the bills. He provides them the occupation. He's the owner of it. And what you're seeing, what you're seeing in those who they call spokesmen for this organization, you're seeing the overseer. It's not like the situation you see with people like Thomas Sowell, myself, and people like that, Herman Cain. Herman's a very independent man. So is Dr. Thomas Sowell. So am I. I can walk away from this any time and do whatever else that the Lord has for me to do. I'm on my own personal mission, given the strength by God to do this, because there's a message that I feel America is missing that's being hijacked even by progressive liberals. And I need to say that. But you can't, Al Sharpton can't walk away from what he's doing. There are people who own him. There are people who own Jesse. There are people who own Black Lives Matter. George Soros is that guy. There are people who owned Occupy Wall Street. Pardon me. So they can't walk away and go do whatever. No. They can't even denounce the people. If the people who own them cross them, they can't say anything back to them. They can't say how they actually feel about some of the stuff that the people who own them make them do. Can't say anything to them because they lose the comfort that their masters have given to them. I'm CL. Be right back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back with you here at the top of the hour, the home stretch of the C.L. Bryant Show. Yes, I get into a lot of hot water with especially progressive liberals for saying what I just said. But it's true. Freedom, true freedom, means that you're able to express whatever thought about whatever topic that you choose to express without worry that there will be repercussions. And change in the way you live life. That's why the founders wanted the first priority that we had as Americans was to be able to have freedom of speech. Now, you can sell that freedom of speech if you want to, but hey, once you have people telling you what to say, you've lost your freedom of speech. This is what most people miss, who progressive liberals miss about what I do as a black conservative. Nobody put my words in my mouth. This is what I believe. On the other hand, some of the things that Jesse and Al purport and promote that have been destructive to the black community, there's no way in the world you can tell me that they think that that is the best thing to be telling the people that they're telling it to. There's no way in the world that you can tell me that they have signed on with their hearts to the abortion issue. There's no way that I believe that they have not, that I don't believe they have not sold out. But yet I'm the one that's called the sellout, right? But there's no way that I can believe that these men actually believe some of the things that they're saying, especially the things that have been so destructive to the black community over a 50-year period of time. You cannot tell me that they actually believe that Barack Hussein Obama has done a good job as president of the United States when they look with their own eyes at what is going on in the black community. You cannot tell me that they believe that. Otherwise, they are totally deluded. And deluded they may be if they believe that. Because I am saying something that actually draws resistance, sometimes from even people in my own camp. But I say the things that I believe. I exercise my freedom of speech. I exercise that freedom of expression. And hopefully it builds a bridge to conversation about things that I disagree with. And hopefully it gives others an opportunity to know, those who are hiding in their closets, those who feel the same way I do, white or black, whoever you are, white or black, you feel the same way I do. You may be a young person and you feel the same way I do, but you're afraid to say it because in your peer group, there's people who would look at you strange if you did say it. I'm telling you, and I'm hoping that this is the situation that we're creating with this radio show, and that is to give you a vehicle to drive yourself away from that and speak your mind. Speak your American mind. Speak the American truth. And that is that we all have been endowed by our Creator. not with the rights that government want to give you, and not having fear of government attacking you for saying what's on your mind or expressing your displeasure with those who are elected to governmental positions. Once we start fearing that they are going to hand out punishment to us, the citizens, then you no longer have the republic, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. You then have an oligarchy, which is a small group of people who control the masses. That's where we're headed with the Clinton election or presidency if she becomes president. And we have to make very sure that Donald Trump never gets it in his mind, if we should elect him president, that he will be a king. I'm CL. Back on the home stretch when I return.